Good morning. So my skate buddy Matt reached out to me the other day. He's a big Powell Peralta enthusiast, and he wanted to let me know that Powell Peralta was about to release the latest series of Bones Brigade reissue decks. He was curious if I was going to get one. So, I just got a new deck, and I have actually recently gotten a few new decks, so I thought I was pretty good. I wasn't really in the market for anything, but I figured I would take a look anyway, just in case anything resonated with me. And, well, something resonated with me. It was this McGill. So as soon as I saw this McGill, I knew that it looked like a significant board from my past. So I went back in through my old skate photos, and I found this. This is a photo from 1988, and that's me standing on top of a big half pipe in the woods, posing with pretty much the same exact McGill. Now, that wasn't even my board. That belonged to my friend Ryan. So Ryan played a pretty significant role in my formative years as a kid just learning how to skate. There were really two big things that happened. The first one was I went over to Ryan's house one day, and when I got there, he said, "Hey, you want to see a half pipe?" I said, "Yeah, of course I want to see a half pipe." I had never seen a half pipe before. So he brought me into the woods behind his house, and there was a massive half pipe back there. Well, not only that, there was a session going on at the time. It was a bunch of high school kids skating this thing, and we were about 9 or 10 at the time. So these were really like the big kids, and they were just shredding this half pipe to pieces. Hand plants, airs, you name it. It was really only stuff that we had seen on TV or in video games at the time. So this was like seeing skate or die in real life right in front of our faces. You know, as soon as I saw that, it dawned on me that that's what I want to do. How do I become one of those guys? You know, what life changes do I have to make in order to do that? So that answer would come to me a few days later when Ryan called me up and said, "Hey, I got a new skateboard. Come check it out." So I went over to his house, and he hands me a Powell Peralta McGill. He told me that he found it in a pile of leaves. Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not. What I do know is that this was the most legit skateboard that I had ever held in my hands. I mean, this thing had everything. It had the 2 different colored wheels, kind of set up caddy corner like that, super 80s style. And then the deck had a custom grip job that was like these crazy black and white stripes. Super cool. I had never seen anything like it. And it was a Powell Peralta, which was top shelf at the time. And I sat there studying this graphic, and I'm thinking to myself, I love skulls. I love snakes. I mean, this is a skateboard made for people like me. I loved it. I loved everything about it. So we rode it for a little bit in the street. Then we took that board back into the woods behind Ryan's house to that ramp. Well, I happened to have a camera with me. So the first thing that we did is Ryan and I took turns climbing up on top of that ramp and posing with the McGill on top of the ramp as if we were actually going to ride that ramp and drop in on it. And I know what you're thinking. Yeah, we were total posers. So once we were done taking pictures, we went down to the flat bottom and just rolled around a little bit down there just to kind of see what it was like to ride a ramp. You know, that ended up being a really influential moment for me because it was the moment that I realized what I needed to do in order to skate one of these ramps. It wasn't that I needed to have his board, but it was that just symbolized the direction that I needed to go and the kind of board that I would want to strive for. So anyway, when I saw this board come up as a reissue, I couldn't resist. I thought it would be kind of cool to get it and set this up in exactly the same way. All right, let's see if we can figure out what Ryan's setup was. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look closely at this old picture of me with Ryan's board, and I'm going to see if I can identify the different components. Now, I'm also going to cross-reference an old issue of California Cheapskates. It was a mail-order catalog that came out in the 80s and the 90s. Now, of course, we have the McGill. That was the whole point of this project to begin with. He's got some red trucks on there. I can't remember if they were gull wings or trackers, but it does look like the middle of the truck has a little bit of a different wear pattern. I'm thinking that might have been that little gull wing groove. So I'm going to say probably gull wings. Okay, next up we have the wheels. So we have those big, chunky 80s style wheels. I couldn't remember what the wheels were offhand, but when I went back to the catalog and I looked through the possible wheels, as soon as I saw those Vision shredders, I knew that that was it. I just remember seeing that logo. Now the rails are kind of weird because it looks like there's a white rail on the bottom and a black rail on the top. And if you look at the other side, there's a white rail on the bottom and then nothing on the top. So Powell Peralta still makes full-size rails called rib bones. But back then, they also made half-size rails called short ribs. I think that's a cool name. So I'm thinking he had white short ribs on the bottom, black short ribs on the top, and then the one fell off. All right, next up, we have a big chunky white riser. It looks like it was maybe a 1/2-inch riser, probably just cell blocks. Okay, then we get to my favorite part of this board, the custom grip job. Now, I remember exactly what it looked like, but unfortunately, I don't have any pictures of it. But I have the next best thing. This little fingerboard that I made when I was a kid. So I liked Ryan's board so much that I whittled this out of popsicle sticks and painted it up to look just like Ryan's board. So I've got the little McGill graphic. It even says McGill down there. And I have the rails. And I have the trucks. The trucks are even red. And I've got red wheels on it. And then on the other side, I painted it to look just like Ryan's grip job. That was it. That was exactly what his grip looked like. So I would give myself maybe a C- on craftsmanship for this, but an A+ for historical documentation. That is awesome. I can use this as a model when I go to grip up that board. You know, it's so funny to think that I created this when I was a kid. I never thought that I would be using this as a historical reference to set up Ryan's board just like this. I mean, it's pretty wild. All right, let's go see if we can set this board up. Okay, we are on sacred ground right now. This is the very spot where Ryan handed me that McGill all those years ago. And I thought, what better place to unveil my new tribute setup than right here in this very spot. So let's check it out. In 3, 2, 1, hoo-ah! That's it. That's the board. I think I nailed it. It looks exactly like his board. All right, so let's take a little closer look at this setup. Now, I did take a little bit of creative license, not only due to availability of parts, also I wanted to make sure that it was a good rider. Okay, first we have the deck, which is a Powell Peralta McGill reissue. Now, true skate nerds might have already noticed that the deck in the picture was a bottlenose. This one is a spoon nose. This came out a little bit later than the bottlenose, but I think it's close enough for me. Okay, the trucks. Instead of putting on gull wings, I put on a set of Indy Hollows because they have the same red hanger, same silver base plate, so it's got that same look as Ryan's board, but arguably maybe some better performance. Instead of Vision shredders, I put on a set of Madrid flywheels. Now these are new old stock, so they're actually from the 80s. They came as a set of 4 white ones. To get that mismatched look, I just dyed the wheels red. Instead of short ribs, I used 2 sets of rib bones, but I just cut them in half and mounted 1 white one, 1 black one. And on this side, I mounted 1 white. I left off the black just for accuracy for the unveiling. But I'm gonna mount this back on before I actually ride it. I've got my 1/2-inch risers, nothing special. And now, the signature feature of this setup is that custom grip job. Check it out. I think I got it pretty close. It's weird to see. I have to admit, I don't think it's really my style now. I would never grip up a board like this, but because it's a tribute setup, and this is one of the things that I really loved about his board back then, so it was important for me to actually recreate that as closely as I could. Now, I did take some creative license with this. Instead of black and white grip, I ended up doing black and glow in the dark. So if I happen to skate through a tunnel, I will be sure to dazzle people with a beautiful glowing shade of green. Kind of cool. All right, that is it. I'm dying to go skate this thing. Whoa. I think I built myself a time machine because this thing teleported me straight back to the late 80s. So I think I'm going to have to walk back what I said about the grip not really being my style. I still wouldn't put it on a modern board, but I think on this particular board, it really gives it some character. I really enjoyed seeing it beneath my feet. I think it looks great in pictures. And pretty much everybody at the skate park asked me about this thing. I mean, I never pass up an opportunity to geek out on skate gear. So, cool. I think the most profound part of this whole experience, other than skating in Ryan's neighborhood again for the first time in decades, which was surreal, the most profound part was standing on top of that big transition, getting ready to drop in, It brought me right back to that moment in the woods where we were posing on top of the big ramp with Reissue McGill, pretending like we were going to drop in. Except this time around, I actually had the skills and the confidence to kick out my board and take the drop. Overall, I am so glad that I took on this project. I really enjoyed doing the research and the build and the riding and just soaking up all of that sweet nostalgia. Yeah. So that is just about it for the McGill. Hey, thanks for joining me on this journey. If you have anything cool to contribute, you know what to do. My name is Rob, signing off. Over and out.